Right, short date please, and learn objective in your books. Pause the video while you do that please, and then we'll press play when you've done the date and learn objective. Right, as you can see, we're going to have a test on this unit's work tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of revision. The revision I'm going to concentrate on is the stuff that we actually did before Easter. I mean, some of it we didn't go through ourselves. I just sort of, you worked it out for yourself, didn't you, in the last week of term. So we're just going to go over some of the revision for that, okay? So the test will be on things like ordering decimals. I know you're perfectly good at those. Rounding, adding and subtracting decimals. And again, I'm not going to go for that because I know we know how to do that. We're going to do some multiplying and dividing decimals. We're going to do that today. The work will also be on sort of things like converting percentages, fractions, and percentages. So the conversion we did last week, and also then it'll be a little bit on finding percentages of a number. On those percentages of a number, you won't be using a calculator for this. So the work we did yesterday on multipliers, it will not be in the test, okay? But you still will need to find a percentage of a number and go from there. So, right, so let's start today. We'll have a little bit of practice on rounding. I'm not going to give you any work to do on this, but on rounding. So a lot of the questions on rounding is to do with money. So if you've got 14, if you get an answer on your calculator, and it becomes 14,97531. Now remember, when you're dealing with money, you round to 2 decimal places because that is your pennies, isn't it? Okay, your pennies. So remember, you do your line there, and you're asking, does this number, so this is 2 decimal places, 2 numbers after the decimal point, will this 5 affect that 9? Now remember, if it's 5 or above, the next it rounds it up, okay? So this is 5, so this 79 becomes 80. So the answer to that one would be £14.80 when you've rounded to 2 decimal places. So remember, when you're rounding to 2 decimal places, you count 2 numbers after the decimal point, and then you ask whether the third one will affect it, okay? You can also round to, you could have an answer which came to 4.73169, and you might be asked to round to 3 decimal places. So from there you count 1, 2, 3, you do your line there. Does the 6 affect the 1? And it is 5 or above, so yes it does. So it becomes 4.732. So it's just this number either stays the same or gets rounded up. Okay, I'm not going to do any more on that because I think we're okay on that. If you're not too sure, do a little bit of revision ready for tomorrow, please. Okay, and when we do on our test, you can go back and check how to do things anyway. So, but I'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. Right, the one thing I'm not so confident we got, because I didn't go through it with you myself, is multiplying decimals. So if I go 0.3 times 0.4. Now this is the way. The best way I think it is to do these. Okay. Now I'm just going to write these out without the decimal point. So 0.3 becomes 3, 0.4 becomes 4, and I'm going to multiply those together, and it comes to 12. Okay. Now I look at my question. There are 1, 2 numbers after the decimal point in the question. I look at both numbers. There's 1, 2 numbers after the decimal point in the question. Therefore, there needs to be 2 numbers after the decimal point in the answer. So that becomes 0.12. Okay. Let's have another go at one of those ones. So say, for example, we go 0.01, and we're multiplying that by 0.7. Now, if I get rid of the decimal points, okay, I'm left there with 1, aren't I? Because it'd be 0.01, which is worth 1 times, and this is going to be worth 7. So that gives me 7. But this question tells me that I go back to my question, and there are 1, 2 numbers, 3 numbers after the decimal point in the question. Okay, so I know when there must be 3 numbers after the decimal point in the answer. So I go there, 0.007, 3 numbers after the decimal point. Okay, I'll do one more of those before I ask you to do a few yourselves. Okay, right, let's have a look at, so if you've got something like 3.2 times 0.2. Again, I'm going to just leave the decimal I'm going to get rid of the decimal point. So I'm left with 32 times 2. 32 times 2 is 64. Then I'm going to look at the question. There's 2 numbers after the decimal point of the question. There must be 2 numbers after the decimal point in the answers. We won't be using our textbook today, so I'm just going to give you a few questions on each of these just to go through in your books. Okay, so nice and quickly, writing out the question, please. Writing out the question. Could you have a go at those first of all, please? Could you have a go at those first of all? Okay, pause the video and then when you're done, press play. Right, good. Okay, hopefully you're okay with those. And it also works then when we're looking at multiplying decimals. So we could have 49, so let's get that in place properly, sorry. 49.73 multiplied by 0.4. So with bigger numbers, the same rules apply. I'm just going to get rid of the decimal places for now, decimal points, so I'm left with that, and then I'm going to do my standard multiplication question and written method. 4 times 3 is 12, carry 1, 7 4s are 28, and 1 is 29, carry the 2, 9 4s are 36, and 2 is 38. 4 4s is 16 and 3 is 19. So there we go. I've done the calculation without any decimal points in there. Now, once again, I'm going back to my question. And I know I've got 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal point in the question. So therefore, I need 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal point in the answer. Okay. Just do quickly one more of those. So let's have a look at 2.34 times 1.2. Okay, again, I'm just going to ignore the decimal place points and just do the question without them. Okay, 2 4s are 8. I'm going to concentrate on this number first. 2 4s are 8, 2 3s are 6, 2 2s are 4. Okay. Now remember, because this 1 is worth 10, I'm going to put my place finder there. Okay, my place finder, most important thing in the world. However you remember it, give it a smiley face. Okay, then 1.4 is 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 2 is 2. I'm going to add those up. 8, 0, carry the 1, 8. So I should get 2,808. Then I go back to my question. 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal point in the question, so there needs to be 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal point in the answer. Okay, right, using written methods, please, because when we come to do the test tomorrow, there will be questions like this. If I do not see your calculations you're working out, I will mark it incorrectly because I will assume you're using a calculator. So do not use a calculator for these, please. Can you please show your workings out? Have a go at these questions here. Okay, questions 4, 5 and 6. Okay, pause the video while you do those and then press play when you have finished them. Right, okay, hopefully that was fine. Okay, let's go on and do a little bit on division. Okay, division. So you might be, say for example on division, you're asked a question, something like 500 divided by 0.2. Now, if we put that into a bus stop method, okay, it'll be 500 divided by 0.2. Okay. Now the key here is this number outside. The number outside the bus stop must become a whole number. We must turn that into a whole number. Now to turn that into a whole number, we have to times it by 10. We have to times that number by 10. And if we times the number outside by 10, we have to times the number inside by 10. So the key point is this number outside the bus stop and turning that into a whole number. Okay, so I'm going to times 0.2 times 10 gives me 2. Okay, 0.2 times 10. Just remember, because I'm multiplying by 10, moving the numbers to the left, one place to the left. So that will give me a 2. Because I have to times that by 10, it becomes 2. It becomes 5,000 divided by 2. Then I'll do my normal method. How many 2's in 5? 2, remainder 1. How many 2's in 10? 5. How many 2's in 0? 0. So your answer to that one, the question is 2,500. 2,500. Let's do another one of those, please. Another one of those. So if, say for example, we have got 7.2 divided by 0.09. Now you put it into your bus stop method. Okay, 7.2 divided by 0.09. Now I need to remember that this number outside the bus stop, I need to make that into a whole number. Now this time I can see I'm going to have to times it by 100. By timesing this by 100, because I need to move the numbers 2 places to the left to get the 9 there. So I'm timesing that by 100, which means I also have to times this by 100. Okay, so I go back to my bus stop. I've times that by 100, which will give me 9. I've times that by 100. This looks 7.2 times 100. I'm moving, because of each 0, I move the decimal places 1 more place to the left. So I move it 1, 2 places. So it becomes 720. Okay, and then just use my normal method. How many 9's in 7? 0. Okay, carry the 7. 8 9's are 72, and no, how many notes in? How many 9's in 0? 80. So the answer to this question is 80. I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to change anything back. Right, could you please have a go at these questions? Okay. Have a go at those, please. Using the methods given, please. Using the method I've just shown you. Right, pause the video while you do that. Press play when you're done, and we'll finish off the last part of the lesson. Okay. Right, hopefully that was okay. The other questions, and this is the only question, I've had a little look at the paper, the only question we haven't done before are these questions here. So we'll have a little go at these. So 30% of an amount is 21. What is the original amount? Now anything like this, we write down what we know. So we know 30, let's bring that down a little bit. We know the 30% is equal to 21. And what we need to work out the original amount, we need to find out the full amount, don't we? So we need to find out what 100% is equal to. So we know what 30% is equal to. We want to find what 100% is equal to, the whole thing, what the whole amount is, okay? Now to find that out, probably on this one, certainly on this one, the easiest thing is to find 10% first, okay? So to find 10% of that number, okay, how am I getting from the 30 to the 10? I'm dividing by 3. And I do the same here, divide by 3. So now I can see 10% of the number is worth 7. and 30% is worth 21. So now I know the 10%. If I want to turn that 10%, and I'm going to go in the different direction now. I'm going to find that 10% to get to the 100%. I'm timesing by 10, aren't I? So I have to do the same to the 7 to get over here. To get over here, I also have to times by 10. So my original amount is 70. Okay, the original amount is 70. So to find, it's given me 30%, so I need to find the whole amount, which is 100%. So I find 10% first. Okay, I'll just do one more of those before I give you a couple of questions on it. So let's just rub that out there. So let's just change this. So we go to 20%, and let's go with 2.2. So 20% of an amount is 2.2. What is the original amount? What is the original amount? So again, I write down what I know. I know that 20% is equal to 2.2. And I need to find out what 100% is. That will be my answer. Okay, the whole thing. So again, I find out 10%. If I find out 10% of that number first, to get from there to there, I'm dividing by 2, and I divide by 2, it gives me 1.1. Okay, so now I know, okay, I can even rub that out. I know that 10.10% is 1.1. So how am I getting from there to there? I'm timesing by 10, and I'm timesing by 10, which will give me 1.1 times 10, moving the decimal from one place to the left, will give me 11. So the original number was 11. Okay. How we go with the questions? I'm going to set a couple of questions here. If you can't, when you're going through them, you can't remember, just rewind the video, watch this part again, have a little go with them, and then watch it again, have a little go. You will be able to work that out. Okay. So these are the last two questions. These are the last two questions I want you to do. Okay. The last two questions I want you to do. Question 10, question 11. Extension is to revise converting percentages, decimals, and fractions. Now, when we come to do the test tomorrow, okay, obviously it's not going to be a test where it's under strict conditions. So you will be able to go back into your books and learn and practice how to do things. It's not going to be a time test. You can go back and practice and go back and sort of, you know, look on the internet even to find out how to do stuff. But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow before you do the test. Okay, so that's can you finish off do questions 10 and 11. There's the extension question if you want to do that, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.